listen to reason? Will you open your eyes? It's a wonder what you'll find with an open mind. You may be surprised. Yeah, gotta get away from this illusion for the sake of the world. This delusion, it's gotta go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Atheist Experience. We're live today. It's December 27th, 2009, the last show of 2009, our post-Christmas episode, which, apart from callers, I don't think we'll mention Christmas again.
Okay.
We're done. We hope everybody's enjoying their holiday season, whatever you celebrate or don't celebrate. We got New Year's around the corner. As I mentioned, this show is live. It's sponsored by the Atheist Community of Austin, a nonprofit educational organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. The ACA has weekly meetings every Sunday at Romeo's on Barton Springs Road beginning at around 11:30, except for the first Sunday of the month when we host a lecture series at the Austin History Center located at the corner of 9th and Guadalupe. The January lecture will be from Fred Edwards, who's here to represent the Coalition of Reason, the people responsible for billboards all across the country. And the ACA, CFI, a bunch of other groups in the Austin area will be coming together for that particular lecture so we can get to know COR and see if it's a viable option for the secular community in the Austin area. So we're looking forward to that. In addition to this program, the ACA also sponsors a biweekly internet audio podcast called The Nonprofits. You can go to nonprofitsradio.com for more information about that program. That's Nonprofits, Prophets, and we will be live again for the 2010 season starting on January 16th. That's hosted by Dennis Loubet, features myself, Russell Glasser, Kathleen O'Connor, and on rare occasions, Schilling and Jeff D. and anybody else who happens to drop by, and sometimes we'll get PZ Myers to call in, or we have no idea what's going to happen on any given day, but we'll be back on the 16th. For more information about this program, you can visit the show's official website, www.atheist-experience.com, where on the front page you can always watch the video from the previous week's episode, and there's also an archive link available for you to click to get to the list of archived shows. This show's been on for more than 11 years, and I haven't been on for that long, and we don't have video for every episode. We do have a ton that Don, for the most part, has painstakingly archived and cataloged and put up at Google Video and Blip TV. And in addition, we're streaming the show live every week over Ustream. You can visit the ustream.tv link that I'm sure that they'll put up in a moment. And additionally, the Public Access Studio in Austin has begun streaming, and as we are the premier live audience show around the world, we've been asked to put this show through the paces. So the address is on your screen right now. It's facil.channelaustin.org/streaming/ch16.asx. That is for if you're on Internet Explorer. I think for everybody else it's ch16.htm. But I don't know if that second link's going up there or not. As I mentioned, it's a live show. We take live calls, and we'll have the telephone number up for you shortly, and you're free to call in. We try to reserve, we only have 3 lines available, so we try to reserve space both for people in Austin primarily and for people who disagree, who have a different view about theism or God or whatever they happen to disagree on, so that we can actually have conversations. And in some cases, because we're talking about things that go to people's core beliefs and values, things will occasionally get heated, and there will be, tempers flaring and whatnot. We try to avoid it. I used to make judicious use of the hold button in order to kind of facilitate.
You haven't had to do that much lately.
I haven't, although I got a little free with the drop button last week and hung up on somebody that I shouldn't have, but we'll move on from that. Don today is going to talk about The argument from ignorance.
Yes.
And we'll start taking calls after that's over. Briefly, as a reminder, you can also visit the ACA's website, which is www.atheist-community.org. I think I just heard Frank scream, what the heck is he doing? I started the announcements 5 minutes ago, and we tried to get the address up. After this program's over, everybody involved gets together and goes for dinner at Threadgill's, 301 West Riverside Drive. We're on the air till about 6 o'clock, and we'll be down at Threadgill's around 6:30 or so. There are a number of other events throughout the week and months that are sponsored by the ACA, including Atheist Happy Hour on Thursdays at the Dog and Duck, and special events from time to time, including various solstice parties, although we didn't have one this season. The Bat Cruise, which happens every September. We have blood drives and food drives, and lions and tigers and bears.
Oh, my.
Yes. Thank you. I have no more critical announcements to get out of the way, so
Okay.
I will give it to you now.
You hand it over. Okay. Well, it's been a while since I've been on. I ended up skipping because we had a preemption during the holidays, during the Thanksgiving holidays. So I haven't been on since October 18th. Today, I wanted to do an Atheism 101 topic that I like to do every now and then and talk about a logical fallacy called the argument from ignorance. And to back up a little bit, Christianity and most mythology is supported by things like lies, including spin. It's supported by things like logical fallacies, where you're led down a rosy path and you reach the wrong conclusion. And it's supported by emotional manipulation. And I can give examples of all these things, but today let's focus on the logical fallacy, and a particular logical fallacy. Now, the religion needs these bogus pillars for support because it doesn't have proper support in the way of facts and objective evidence and sound reasoning, so it needs this stuff. And furthermore, when someone uses lies and logical fallacies or emotional manipulation, they effectively admit that they are promoting crap. They're promoting junk, because if it weren't junk, you wouldn't need to have that stuff. If it were valuable in and of itself, you wouldn't need that. So we'll talk about today, what is the argument from ignorance and how is it used? The argument from ignorance is also similar to the argument from personal incredulity, if you're into philosophy. So what is it? Well, the argument from ignorance, I'm going to read from Wikipedia. The argument from ignorance is also known as the argument ad ignorantium. And it's a logical fallacy which is claimed where a premise is true only because it has not been proven false, or it is false because it has not been proven true. And so how this works is usually the person arguing says, I'm going to cast doubt on the thing that you're trying to promote, therefore the thing that I'm promoting is therefore true, is therefore more likely. And usually this other thing, this second thing, there's no evidence given for it. Usually this is just an emotional or some sort of smokescreen to say, oh, your argument's bad, therefore mine must be good. Also, there's also another little hidden logical fallacy that shows up here, and that is this false dichotomy. That usually there's not just two things on the table. Usually there's a lot of things on the table, and so if one thing has doubt cast on it, that doesn't necessarily mean the next thing in the list is the most likely. It could be something else entirely. So it's kind of a smokescreen to put an opponent on the defensive. So in science, this gap in science, if you have a gap in science, generally people use an argument from ignorance to fill in that gap with whatever they're interested in, like a God. And this is called the God of the gaps argument. So every gap is filled with God. If science doesn't know X, well, God did it. That's the default explanation. So how is it used? Well, I've actually gotten into an argument with a theist who said, well, how can you know God didn't create the universe? You weren't there. I've actually had that argument. So the person is effectively claiming that the atheist, which is me, lacks specific evidence. Therefore, their claim that God exists must be true. Well, there's a bunch of problems with this. Well, first off, the theist wasn't there either, right? So whatever they're saying I don't have, they don't have either, so it's kind of a moot point. Also, they tend to not have evidence for their own side of the equation. They don't provide evidence for God. They're just trying to say, well, you don't know that God doesn't exist, so therefore God must exist. And this gets into the whole idea of burden of proof, right? So the person making a claim that God exists, a positive claim, has the burden of proof to make that claim and to assert it and to provide evidence for that claim.